Welcome to our channel. We hope you enjoy today's video. Enjoy watching.
On my wedding day with Emiliano Rodriguez, his best friend Mariana appeared before me with a huge pregnant belly. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face and said,
"Elena, you have everything. Can you please let Emiliano go? I'm already expecting his child."
I removed my veil and threw it to the ground, my expression filled with contempt. As I turned around, I saw panic in Emiliano's eyes. I thought to myself, he must have remembered our agreement. If anything went wrong with this wedding, all his assets would be mine. Emiliano and I had known each other for 5 years, since university. We were considered a perfect couple, with similar backgrounds, both talented and attractive. People would often say that our union was made in heaven, but I never took those compliments to heart because I knew Emiliano had someone else in his heart, Mariana. They had known each other for 10 years, 5 years longer than I had known him. Curiously, they always referred to each other as a friends for life, as if their relationship was so pure that it hadn't been tainted by even a hint of romance. Later, they enrolled in the same university and same course, but for some reason, in their first year, Emiliano sought me out, someone from a different faculty. At that time, I had some fantasies about university romance, and Emiliano was handsome, kind, and educated. So, after 2 months of his attempts to win me over, I agreed to go out with him. After a week of being happy together, I noticed that there was someone very close to him, Mariana, a girl with a beautiful face, but a short, boyish haircut. On one hand, she would call me a sister-in-law, but on the other hand, she would put her arm around Emiliano's shoulders and say, "You're incredible, you found a girlfriend so quickly, do you have some secret technique you can teach me?" Mariana was a head shorter than Emiliano, so when she put her arm around his shoulders, her mouth would naturally come close to his ear. They were extremely intimate, but Emiliano seemed completely used to it and didn't mind at all. The first time I saw them like that, I couldn't understand why Emiliano still had such an intimate friend after having a girlfriend. At first, I thought I was overreacting, and I talked to him about it in private a few times. To my surprise, Emiliano's response left me speechless. "Mariana and I have been best friends for 5 or 6 years, we've always been like that, I couldn't distance myself from her just because I have a girlfriend now, that would be an insult to our pure friendship." I also talked to Mariana about it, and her response made me think I was out of place. "What are you talking about? Emiliano and I have been best friends for so many years, how did that become some kind of romance in your mind? Romance is something suitable for Emiliano with girls like you." Mariana seemed to struggle to call someone taller than her, with a more mature face and a feminine figure, a girl. I decided to break up with Emiliano, thinking we could part ways amicably and hopefully never see each other again. But Emiliano wouldn't accept the breakup, and I ended up throwing a basketball at him in a fit of rage. The destiny is a magical thing, and bad luck is no exception. When my parents took me to apologize to Emiliano, what a coincidence, our families knew each other. "Oh, this is Elena, you've grown up so much," they said. "I used to hold you in my arms when you were just a little thing." It turned out that my dad and Emiliano's dad had been best friends since university. If the Rodriguez family hadn't moved abroad to start their business, Emiliano and I might have been together even earlier. But my mom's expression when looking at Mr. Rodriguez was a bit strange, she hid behind my dad, unusually quiet. My dad, oblivious to the tension, didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. After a brief, polite conversation, the relationship between Emiliano and me quickly became known to both families. "Elena, my son is a bit clumsy and doesn't know how to treat his girlfriend well," Mr. Rodriguez said. "If he does something that bothers you, feel free to teach him a lesson." He tapped Emiliano on the forehead, saying, "That's what he deserves, to learn his lesson." But his tone changed, and he added, "Don't lose a perfect partner like you over people who aren't worth it." I was standing in the hospital room, filled with the strong smell of disinfectant, looking at Emiliano, who was smiling at me like a fool, and it filled me with annoyance. I was blind before, how could I have thought this guy was attractive? He looks just like his dad. I looked at Mr. Rodriguez again, attractive, kind, and refined, but his gaze was directed at my mom like a venomous snake. That night, I went to my mom's room to talk to her, and she was sitting in her huge, luxurious bedroom, crying silently while staring at the moon. "Mom, what's wrong? You didn't say a word during dinner," I asked. "It's nothing, just like you, your dad had gone out again for a business dinner," she replied. In this mansion, I was the only one who could have a sincere conversation with my mom. "It's nothing, Mom," she said, wiping away her tears and smiling. "I just remembered some sad things from the past. Don't worry about me, go to sleep early, you don't have class at 8 a.m. tomorrow." I took my mom's hand and said softly, "Mom, I saw everything today, Mr. Rodriguez." Her body trembled, and she immediately interrupted me, saying, "No, don't say any more." I left after seeing her fall asleep. Emiliano and I got back together after his father's strange insistence. I don't know if his dad said something to him, but Mariana started to appear less and less around us. Valentine's Day arrived, and Emiliano gave me a large bouquet of roses. "Thanks," I said, leaning into his arms with a timid expression, and then I gave him a soft kiss on the cheek. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mariana looking at us with melancholy, tears streaming down her beautiful face. She was crying while watching us from afar. My gaze returned to the roses in my hands, and I had told Emiliano before that I didn't like roses. So, who did like roses, and who suggested buying them? To be honest, I was standing there, holding those roses, trying to smile, while everything inside me seemed to be trembling. Mariana's eyes shone in a way that I would never forget, as if she had lost something valuable. It was then that I realized Emiliano didn't know perfectly that I didn't like roses. We had discussed it before, and yet there I was, holding that huge bouquet of flowers that clearly wasn't for me. I forced myself to maintain a smile, but every second, I felt the weight of that situation like an anchor. The feeling was like everything around me was in a strange fog, where nothing made sense. I tried to push the thought away, but I couldn't stop thinking about why he had chosen roses. Emiliano had always been attentive to details, it wasn't typical of him to forget something like that. My heart tightened more with each second that I looked at that bouquet. I looked at Emiliano, and instead of finding his gaze, I found emptiness. It was as if he was lost in some distant place. Only then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mariana turn her face, trying to hide the tears that streamed down her cheeks. The discomfort grew in my chest, like something was squeezing my heart tighter and tighter. I decided to confront Emiliano right then and there. I asked him in a tone that I tried to soften, but it came out harder than I imagined. "Why did you choose roses? You know I don't like them." Emiliano looked at me for a moment, a bit confused, and then he forced a nervous smile. "I thought it would be something special, something different," he said. I couldn't help but frown, everything felt forced, like I was following a script that someone else had written. Just then, Mariana, who was a few meters away, sighed and turned around, as if she couldn't bear the scene anymore. Mariana's expression revealed everything I hadn't wanted to see. I felt a knot in my throat, but I tried to stay firm. "Emiliano, this is ridiculous. I'm here receiving flowers I don't like, and your best friend is looking at us like it hurts her." He remained silent, looking at me like he didn't understand what I was referring to, but I knew he understood. "Why is she here, Emiliano? What's really going on between you two?" The words came out of my mouth with more anger than I had planned, but I couldn't stop myself. It wasn't just a suspicion, it was something I had always known deep down about Emiliano. He sighed deeply, like he was deciding whether to speak or not. Finally, he murmured, "Elena, Mariana and I have been friends for a long time, and it's something I couldn't change." "But it doesn't mean what you think." His voice sounded insecure, like he was trying to convince me, but in reality, he was convincing himself. That response didn't calm me down at all. On the contrary, my chest filled with a mix of frustration and sadness. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. The Emiliano in front of me, with his evasive gaze and empty excuses, wasn't the man I had planned to spend the rest of my life with. I looked at Mariana again. She remained silent, with her lips pressed together and a guilty expression that she could barely hide. I approached her, determined to get answers, even if it meant exposing what everyone was trying to hide. "You know what, Emiliano? I don't need your words. I can see it in your best friend's face. Mariana looked up and held my gaze for a moment, but then she quickly looked down, as if she couldn't bear the intensity of my eyes. It was in that instant that I understood everything. I didn't need to hear anything more, their glances and gestures said more than 1,000 words. The anger and sadness swirled inside me like a whirlpool that threatened to sweep me away. I felt like the ground was disappearing beneath my feet, but I refused to show weakness. I approached Emiliano, looking him straight in the eye, and said in a cold tone, "I'm not a doll you can manipulate. If there's something between you two, if there always was, what I deserve is the truth." He looked at me with a defeated expression, but he didn't say anything. His silences said more than any words he could offer. I realized that, even if he denied it, his loyalty to Mariana was stronger than any promise he had made to me. Mariana whispered, trying to defend herself, "Elena, please, it's not what it seems. Emiliano and I are just friends." But her voice trembled, and her eyes shone with an emotion that betrayed her words. I couldn't tolerate the hypocrisy. "Friends?" I replied, my words coming out like knives. "I don't know any friends who look at each other like that." I felt an irresistible urge to make them see the pain they were causing me. Emiliano tried to take my hand, but I pulled away, feeling an insurmountable abyss opening between us. I walked away from Emiliano with my head held high, although I was devastated inside. With each step, I felt like I was leaving behind not only him but also all the plans, dreams, and promises we had once believed in. But something inside me forced me to be strong, not to give in to that betrayal that was now so evident. I walked until I reached the exit, and with each step, I felt his gaze on me like a weight trying to slow me down. But I didn't stop. Mariana stayed by his side, not daring to say anything more, looking petrified, as if she finally understood the harm she had caused. Once outside, I took a deep breath, trying to contain the tears that threatened to fall. I didn't want that to be the last image they had of me, broken, destroyed. I decided that this wouldn't be a story of defeat. From the bottom of my heart, I promised myself that everything Emiliano and Mariana had done to me would eventually come back to haunt them. I didn't know how or when, but I knew I wouldn't stay idle, allowing them to continue with their lives as if nothing had happened. That night, in my room, I planned my revenge. I wasn't a vengeful person, but the pain I felt was so intense that something inside me demanded justice. I remembered every detail of our relationship, every moment when Mariana had interfered between us, every time Emiliano had ignored my feelings to protect that pure friendship. And then I decided to return the blow in a way they would never forget. I started making some changes on my social media, posting photos and messages that hinted at a new life, full of opportunities and wonderful people. I knew Emiliano would see them and wonder if he was really losing someone valuable. Days passed, and slowly, I saw my plan working. Emiliano started sending me messages, asking if I was okay, if we could talk, but I ignored him. Every time I saw his name on my screen, I felt a mix of satisfaction and freedom. He had wanted to keep me as an option while Mariana occupied the place of special friend. Now he was the one experiencing what it felt like to be in the background. And with each ignored message, I felt like I was regaining the power that he and Mariana had taken from me. One day, weeks later, I received an unexpected message from Mariana, saying she needed to talk to me, that there was something she had to confess. I hesitated to respond, but curiosity got the better of me. We met at a small, discreet cafe, far from where anyone could recognize us. Mariana arrived visibly nervous and, as soon as she sat down, started talking. She confessed that she had been in love with Emiliano for years, but he had never seen her in the same way. She had always been his second option, and when he chose me, she knew she had lost him completely. Her words surprised me and left me speechless. Listening to her confession brought me an unexpected peace. I no longer felt hatred or resentment, but a deep compassion for her. I stood up, and before I left, I told her, "Mariana, we both deserve something better. It's not worth losing our lives waiting for someone who doesn't know how to value what they have." And with that, I left, leaving behind Emiliano, Mariana, and all the memories of a relationship that had never really been mine. That was the end. I didn't need revenge because I understood that they had condemned themselves.